Everyone thinks because you're a zombie, you don't know good coffee. Well, they're wrong. There's only one brew that gets my seal of approval. Deadly Grounds coffee is my guilty pleasure. The aroma is so intoxicating. It brings all of my neighbors out of the woodwork. Deadly Grounds coffee. Coffee to die for and zombie approved. It's good to get a little deadly. Use the front door! Oh, they're so disgusting.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday night, which means it's another live Wicked Horror Show. I'm Kevin, and as always, I'm joined by Tony Has Nine Fingers.
What is going on, people?
And Tony, do you want to introduce our very special guest that you have some connections to from your childhood? And I can't wait to hear stories about you peeing your bed and everything. But yeah, introduce the guest.
All right. Well, like Kevin said, I've actually known our guest for, 20 plus years now. So not only it doesn't make me feel that much older, but anyway, he is in a movie called Force of Death, which is actually out streaming. So you could definitely check it out. Mr. Ben Newmark. How are you?
Ben?
I'm good. I can't believe you said you feel old. I was your counselor, therefore I'm older.
Yeah, I had my birthday yesterday, so technically I
Happy birthday, Tony.
Thank you very much.
How old are you now?
38.
You're very old.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm older than you. So
I'm older than him by like 10 years. So
get out.
Yeah, I'm going to be 48 in November.
Oh, you're aging very well.
Yeah,
I'm quite envious.
That's what it is. I'm pickled. Well, yeah. Anyways, so Tony, you brought this one to the books. Why don't you start things off?
All right. Well, yeah. Ben reached out, and he's known me for a long time, and I had this Tony Has Nine Finger moniker for a long time, and was doing YouTube videos and reviews and stuff. So he said, "Hey, check out because I'd known him for like comedies and stuff. I didn't know he got into a horror movie. So I'm like, oh, that's right up my alley." So he's like, if you could watch it, give a review of it. And I'm like, well, how about you come on our podcast? I don't think he knew we had a podcast. So
no
I'm
idea.
Like most people.
I'm like, well, why don't you just come and talk? And so he sent me where it was streaming. It is on Amazon. That's where I watched it from Prime, but I'm pretty sure it's all over the place. And I'm like, yeah. And it's definitely up. I know, Kevin, I'm sure it's up your alley. It was up my alley. It was definitely one of those fun, because it's a little bit of everything. And Ben's character, which I'm sure he'll talk about, brings in that comic relief, which we always talk about, where sometimes movies shoot too far, like in one direction. So when you throw that over the top character in there, it opens it up. So yeah. I'll let Ben talk about the movie. I don't want to, he knows a lot more about it.
No, you nailed it. The whole premise of that film is it's an homage and it's a love letter to 80s horror. Like the whole concept of that film is to make a horror film that was scary, hit its tropes that people like, and was fun. The overall message of that film is that this is going to be fun. And that's what it was. And that's what I grew up loving. That's what attracted me to that film so much, was when you grow up with, the Friday the 13th movies and in the sleepaway camps and then into the bloody murders, you start to appreciate that form of horror films that's a little campy, little goofy, kind of silly, great time.
Yep.
So with Force of Death, that was, told to me right up front. This is, I love The Thing. I love these kind of movies. This is what I want to make. I was like, I got it. I instantly know it. And then that's kind of what led me to the creation of the Roger character.
Nice. And you're in Florida. Was this all filmed in Florida, or?
This was filmed just outside of Gainesville.
Looking at the woods, I know it's not like a smart idea to be walking around in the woods in Florida just because of gators and stuff. But
no, this was terrifying.
Yeah.
This was shot in the boondocks outside of Gainesville. in an area where the woods were alive, that you got an immediate speech as soon as you got out there, like, hey, if you see this kind of snake, be careful because this one might be venomous. If you see this kind of spider, be careful, this one might be venomous. And then there's mosquitoes everywhere. Actually, if you saw the film and Roger had that greasy look that someone referred to as a Beetlejuice,
Okay.
as well as Bradley Cooper mixed with Pauly Shore. But that look just came from bug spray. It wasn't using Hollywood prosthetics. It was just taking a can of bug spray and soaking myself in it. So I would look sweaty and have the greasy hair look just to survive being in the woods.
Yeah, that's pretty insane. Just real quick, we have a few people in the chat. We have Life is Pain saying what's up. Sergio's in the chat room. What's up, Serge? And we have J-Man saying, hello, everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. So welcome, guys. If you have any questions, we have a trailer we're going to play later. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I know Sergio will probably throw some in there. So with this one, he was saying that you did a lot of comedy and stuff. Like, so how long have you been at this? It sounds like it's been a while.
I started in the industry in 2002, and it was kind of by accident. All I ever wanted to do was be a writer. My goal in life was to be a beat writer for the Yankees and just travel with the team and write about the team. But I started practicing writing by doing fake screenplays for little shows. And my friends got really into it, and they started sharing with their friends. And it kind of became this weird thing in high school where people started to enjoy my writing. So I was like, oh, maybe I could do this other thing until I'm with the Yankees. Because in my head, I was just going to be with the Yankees. It was going to happen. And when I got to college, before I even got to college, I went to an audition/interview for an off-Broadway troupe. And I just wanted to be a writer. And right out of the gate, my first audition, my first interview, they hired me. So my first exposure was this group of people that had been trained by Second City, that had been trained by Upright Citizens Brigade, very much that Saturday Night Live style. Mm-hmm. They were the ones that brought me into acting. That was my foundation, was stand-up. It was basically being on a stage and doing improv. And it's nothing I'd ever done before. And I had no interest in being on a stage. But within 60 days, I was on a stage and I was making people laugh, and it was uncomfortable. And then it was a couple months later, I produced my first film. December 2002, I produced my first film. I got actors from my acting class. I got a camera that I borrowed from the school, and I made a movie. And it was a comedy horror film.
Nice.
And that was pretty much how it started.
Nice. That's awesome that you dabbled in the improv and like stand-up like realm. That's like I have a special spot in my heart for that stuff myself. So
I was gonna say that's Kevin's side. He loves horror, but then he also loves just straight comedy, like
stand-up. I'm a huge like stand-up guy. Like that, most of the stuff I watch, like outside of horror movies, is usually involving a stand-up comic of some sort. Pedro Chan is in the chat saying in Facebook saying yo Tony. So I'm assuming he's one of your
from TikTok. So actually he's a musician as well. So
nice.
Check out Pedro. He does a whole bunch of music. So TikTok cool. Represent.
So your first movie that you made was a horror comedy. Like we've had the discussion before, and there's some of the guys that are part of the show from time to time. They don't believe that there is such a thing. Like they don't believe like it doesn't mix. There's no such thing. It's either horror or it's comedy, both, which is completely wrong.
You can do both. It just depends on the context. Like Forest of Death, there's plenty of people that they think it's more in the funny realm. I think it's more of a comedy just because of silly little things in there that they've seen in other films. So they kind of get the inside of the inside joke. Mm-hmm. But there's definitely a way to do a horror movie that's funny. I think a lot of that would just come from character development, situations. But you can definitely make a scary, scary movie while still making it fun. That can totally happen.
Yeah. I mean, I just recently saw, someone is joining us. We got Tyler. What's up, Tyler?
There we go.
How's it going? Sorry I'm a little late.
That's okay. So Tyler,
we all just got uglier. Oh. That happened so fast.
I started that way. So it's okay. I accept it.
Turn my lights off.
Yeah. So Tyler, we already Benjamin already like went through his character a little bit. Do you want to go over a little bit about your character and like I don't know, it's I just got done watching a movie. I really liked it. So talk about the movie a little bit. I literally finished watching it probably like 10 minutes before.
Oh wait, what did you think? You can give us a quick review. You can be honest. I've read some terrible things on the internet, so you can say whatever you want. It'll not be worse than some of the things I've read about Ty.
No, the internet is a horrible place sometimes. But you know, whatever. I take those reviews like people just sometimes they hate just for the sake of hating, which is it's ridiculous. You ask them why and they can't give you an answer. You know. It happens way too much, but I enjoyed it. I mean, right off the bat, though, there was one line that kind of I was like, "Huh?" Like, I'm like, that line didn't make any sense, but it was like literally at the beginning opening scene.
Only one? Okay.
Yeah, no, there was one that stuck out, and maybe I was just thinking about it. I'm like, is that right? Like, for too long, but like when he walks out of the room and he's just like, what does he say? Like, who the fuck's out there? Then he says like, anyways, or something like that. Like that doesn't make any sense. Like he just walked out of the room yelling this, but I'm like, but there's no other part of it. So I don't know if there was a part that was cut or whatever, but that was the first thing, and I was like, this is going to be a weird one. But then it got better after after the intro, which I mean I like the intro too, but that first line I was like, what? Other than that,
I don't think I ever even caught that.
That's the
one
part. Yeah,
that's one thing with Kevin. No matter what, like we've seen so many movies that while we're watching, we're looking for something going on. Yeah. So it's one of those things.
It's not even. I'm not trying to. Like,
I don't know. That's when you start watching a bunch, you just start to notice weird stuff because your brain just starts to process everything. You kind of know where it's going. You know what's happening, so you start to notice boom mic in the corner.
Yeah.
Oh, he phrased that wrong. Yeah. It's natural.
Like even to the point where I think we had a guest on it. I was wrong, but I was like, when you open the door from inside the room, the doorknob was on this side of the door, but then when it opened from the other side of the door, it was on the other side of the door. And he's just like, I don't know. And I was wrong, but in my mind, it totally made sense. But it's one of those things. I try to pay attention as much as I can. I take my phone, I put it across the room, and I just I don't want to be tempted by stupid games or Instagram or whatever. Yeah, so that's I did enjoy it. It's one of those ones that it would find a home on the shelf. There's a lot of movies that we see where we're just like, oh, I like it. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again, but I would watch this again for sure. Because
it's in a different trope too. Because right. I mean, you had your Bigfoot movies, you had your clown movies, you have now with Shapeshifters, a little, I guess,
spoiler. Yeah.
Spoiler alert. But it's definitely one that you don't see a lot of movies of. So I don't want to say it's broken the mold because I've seen other things, but it's also not in the genre. It's like, okay, here's 10 movies about this, 10 movies about this, 10 movies about this. So it might be the start of a new or bring it back a certain genre, but it's definitely one that is new and refreshed, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Because there's a bunch of stuff. There was like a few months where there was just a ton of like Wendigo movies and whatever, and you don't really see much of shapeshifters. I mean, they've been around forever.
You think you would because it's like an interesting topic, and you can do it so many different ways. So I mean, like you said, maybe it's a start. We started something.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because the company that made it, DBS Films, they're an ongoing learning company, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
So this film is like their 1.0. They have every intention of making a Forest of Death again, but in a totally different context, which they do regularly. They have a basis for a film, they like it, and they do it again. And they were already talking about what they would do differently in Forest of Death 2.0. Mm-hmm. Totally different movie.
Oh, yeah.
Way darker. So much darker, but still the same premise of a shapeshifter and a group of people, but maybe they got a little bit more and it just goes so dark. Like, yep, I want to see that too.
Yeah.
I don't think Roger works in that the same way, but I want to see that one.
Nice. And that'd be cool. And I thought it looked great too. Like, especially for like a smaller, like independent movie. I mean, it looked great. A lot of times I thought the acting
Yeah.
was really good. I thought the story was really good. So it's like sometimes there's things that will lack, and it's usually the visual or the audio.
Yes.
I thought it sounded and looked
I've
great.
seen plenty.
Oh yeah, me too. And that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. I mean, it
I've
just
been in a
means,
lot of those.
yeah, I have as well. I've been cut out of them because I've been so good. But, no,
I'm stealing that.
No, I legit have been cut out of just absolute schlock. So whatever, I'm okay with it. My name's still in the credits. I don't care. Actually, I kind of do because it's really bad. So yeah, we'd never got Tyler to touch on his character at all. Do you want to give a little breakdown about your character?
Yeah, sure. So my character is Tom, and I played the typical douchebaggy friend / boyfriend, that you'd see in a typical horror movie like this. So I just, that was basically the bare minimum of the character. It was a lot of fun. I mean, I think I played a similar role in the movie before that as well. So I do enjoy those roles. But I was also talking to Ben recently that I'm starting to step out of my comfort zone and just do something completely different.
Mhm.
But yeah, that was the character that I played in.
Nice. Yeah, and you're like kind of like a tough guy. Like they mentioned like frat life or something, or college life. And
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's like, so go ahead.
You know what's weird about this is his character in that film seems so genuine that he's such a trifling douchebag. But in real life, he's nothing.
I was just about to say that.
Nothing like that. It's so bizarre. Like when I first met him, the very first thing I did when I got to set, was steal his energy drink. Right off the bat, I saw it in a fridge and I said, "Ooh, this is for everybody." I drank it and he's like, "That was mine." I was like, he's like, that was supposed to be mine. And I thought he was going to kick my ass because you can't tell in the movie, he's significantly bigger than I am.
Oh yeah.
He's a much larger person than I am. But then he cracked a smile. He was screwing with me. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm terrified." And then the next time I see him is after they're done shooting. It's 2, 3 in the morning. And the way a DBS set works is there's no set time for catering. They buy you all the food you want. They put it in the fridge. They get you anything you need to cook. So when you're hungry, you just eat. When you sleep, you sleep. And they're just ongoing. So there he is at 3 in the morning after filming. He's just doing everyone's dishes. Everyone who left their dishes in the sink, he's just there, happy as can be, just scrubbing dishes, scrubbing a fork, not a care in the world. I was like, there's this Tom Cruise looking son of a bitch.
That was
Just
my,
woke up,
Hey,
crushed
Tom.
a performance, and now he's cleaning.
That was my OCD
Okay.
kicking in.
I need to get some of that because I'm the only one who does the dishes in this house. My wife refuses, and we don't have a dishwasher. So, but I pull off as long as I possibly can. But yeah, you can come over to my place. You're in Florida, right? It's a long.
I'm in Florida.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it's a bit of a drive to Massachusetts, but you can
Oh
do
yeah.
it. Yeah. I'll wait. There's plenty. I'll just let him build up for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
But like, I mean, I did like your character. Like, it was believable, but not too believable. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't
Right.
like this. Sometimes those kind of characters, they're too believable, and you end up hating them. And I didn't hate your character. Like, oh god, I can't wait for that guy to go. Like, that sometimes there's characters where you're just like,
Yeah.
they do your job. I'm supposed to hate them, and I hate them.
So I think the original concept was I was supposed to be that character that was going to be hated, and I knew that going into it. But like I said, Ben knows that like they're always open for suggestions and other ways of going about it. So I had suggested to them that maybe it'd be half and half. Start off that way, but then become more of like a likable person towards the end.
Mm-hmm.
So and it ended up working out because I think on the last one I was just completely the unlikable person. And I was like, I just want to switch it up a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's good. Like, because yeah, you were likable during a lot of the scenes, but then it was like the other dude was just like, I know he's gonna want to go out there and fight him. I know he's going to. Like, that's just how he is, So
yeah,
it's like he's a good dude now, but he's got a temper kind of deal.
Yeah, someone was like, part of the problem was that I think people like Roger more than the guy they're supposed to like.
yeah.
And I was like, oh shit, yeah, you might be right. Ooh, my bad. My bad.
I don't know.
Like,
I mean,
I came across as wildly unlikable to decent human beings.
right.
To decent people.
I'm like, I would
person.
I would be in like the vicinity of that character, but I don't know if I would want to hang out with that character at all. Like,
no, Roger would be a good time. I'd love to hang out with Roger.
I'm a party pooper, so I would not be a good time.
If you want to wake up in jail 2 a.m. with the cop thanking you, Roger's the guy to hang out with.
Right. I'm not that guy. But so we were talking about comedy horrors, and Life is Pain is bringing up Tucker Dale versus Evil, which is phenomenal. That and Shaun of the Dead, even like because Evil Dead Rise is a thing right now. So even Army of Darkness, which was my introduction to that whole franchise, that's definitely the most comedy out of all the franchise. But there's a lot of good ones out there. And Sergio's asking, I think, Ben, you may have already answered, but do you have like your favorite horror movie? I know you said that it's probably The Thing.
No, my favorite horror movie is a film that not many people have seen. It's called Real Killers, and it was straight to VHS in the 90s. If you've seen it, it's the coolest movie you've ever seen. 2 guys break out of jail. They take a family hostage. The family just turns out to be into S&M and have zombies and gips locked in their basement, and it turns into a shootout. And it was one of those movies that I saw and said, I think I want to do this. Because if this counts as a movie, I can do this. I can think up this kind of weird stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, when it comes to horror, it's just a special place in my heart.
Agreed.
And then I like the weird, like Jason Takes Manhattan is my favorite Friday the 13th movie. I absolutely love that movie. Evil Dead 2 is still there. And if Jaws still counts as horror, Jesus Christ, I'm gonna go with like 40. You know what? I'm good. I'll go with those, and I'm gonna stop because otherwise I'm gonna get into The Exorcist.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the subgenre. Like, there's plenty.
Yeah.
If you want to talk more suspense, like for like even stuff as new as like Silence of the Lambs for me. But if you want to talk like just gritty and gross, I'm a big Texas Chainsaw guy, and like stuff like that. What about you, Tyler? Are you a horror guy much?
I am. So I'm just a huge fan of like the genre itself. So like I don't have a specific movie. Like I mean anything that comes out, it doesn't matter. I'm just invested in it. No matter if it's bad or good. I'm all there. So anything that comes out, I'm like, yes, another horror movie. Because there's I mean, I don't want to say there's not a lot, but they don't come out as often as like all the other genres.
Definitely not in the
so
theater.
When I get an opportunity to go to get an opportunity to go to theaters, so it's like, wow, this is great. So I've always been since I can't even remember, since I was middle school. I mean, and then up from there. But not my family, the rest of my family, I have a twin brother and then a younger brother. Nobody likes horror, so it's just me.
My dad got me into horror. Like, he got me into it, and like, so thankfully, and I have a niece that's really into it. My nephew just made a short film, his first short film, and it's a horror short. So I'm happy that he's dabbling as well. It's good times, but
that's why when I became an actor, which was late in my it wasn't until like college, that was like the first genre that I really, really like. That was, I mean, obviously I was open to anything that is a beginning actor, but horror, everything about horror. I was applying. I just was, and then the second I got the opportunity, I thought I couldn't believe it was real life.
Yeah,
I was like, no way. I'm putting everything I got into this.
You hear that like less than 20% when we have guests on. A lot of the times it's like, oh, so you're into horror? They're like, no, not really. And it's like, oh, it's just a role that came up. But then after, they're like, oh, well, I was in the movie and now this is something I want to do because I wasn't expecting to have that much fun on set. Because it's like, okay, well, we've had even some of the, bigger guests that we had on. They're like, it kind of just came up because then we had like Catherine Maria Stewart from like Night of the Comet and stuff, and she was saying like in the beginning she didn't really want to get into it, and then she got into it, and it was like, okay. So it's funny hearing just some people, they're like, yeah, that's all I wanted to do was get into horror movies, and other people are like, I was kind of running from it, and then it kind of came and fell in my lap. So
It's weird for me because I loved horror movies. It was actually Bloody Murder that inspired me to make my first film. And I didn't do a horror movie that I've been acting for years. And after I did that, it was another 10 years before I did another horror movie. So I've never had the chance to do that many. And now that I did one, I'm just holding on to it because I did, that one. Then I immediately turned around and did two more.
Nice.
And I was supposed to do a third, but scheduling happens and life's just funny that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, horror is a contagious genre.
Yeah.
Because there's certain liberties you can take in that genre that you necessarily can't take if you're doing a straight drama, because everyone there is very self-important. But when you do a horror film, one, you find people are a little bit more scaled back. They're a little bit more relaxed. Their guard is down. They're more open to ideas. And then with DBS, who Tyler's done 2 films with them, I've done 2 films with them now, everything's on the table with them at all times. There's never an idea that they're going to tell you is a bad idea. They're going to listen to any weird, stupid, or terrible idea you have, because that may be the starting point of a bigger idea. And with Forest of Death, Roger was just supposed to be Crazy Ralph. That's all he was supposed to be. He was supposed to come in, be a crazy redneck and tell a story. And that was pretty much it. But just from, Brendan and I developing a relationship and developing a character, just kind of screwing around texting each other of different ideas. When it came time to shoot, I was very comfortable with what we were going to do, and it wasn't clicking right. So about an hour before the fire pit scene, the longest scene in the film in one spot, I had an idea, and I felt comfortable enough to just run with that idea. And, I told it to Brendan and Kellen. They're like, okay, just go for it. So there's people that invested the time and the money and everything into this. And here's one of the bigger shots of the film. And they're humble and comfortable and trusting enough to say, hey, here's a crazy idea. Just go make it all up as you go. Just go make the whole thing up. Just go make up a 12-minute scene. And I found out from Tyler afterwards, let's not tell anyone else in the cast what this guy's about to do.
Oh, really?
It just showed up on day 4. He's going to go improvise an entire scene. Let's just see what happens. And it was one of the best scenes I've ever done in my life. Everything just flowed, and I thought everyone knew what I was going to do, and they were just looking for their cues. But that scene was 3 or 4 takes, 12 minutes at a time, edited down to like 8, I think. But it was just, I knew the beats we had to hit. I knew the message we want to get across. So the story of the wife came to me based off my own wife. And I was just talking to Chloe an hour before about her. It was, there's a story there about his eyes. Okay, that may hit a little bit better. And maybe if we, if I drag this part out a little bit more, we emphasize this. And that's what it was, as we're shooting that scene, we're still writing it. Brendan and Kellner are still throwing me lines. And the whole time, I think everyone's in on this. No, which makes everyone around that fire pit performance that much crazier, because they're just watching some maniac just take 9 pages of a script and say, screw it, go away. I'm just going to do this. Yeah, we'll just go. Right off the top of my head, let's just see what happens. And beat by beat, everyone hit their beat. Everyone had their spot. And instead of it being one of those dull, boring lore dump scenes, it was something that was wildly entertaining. And the cinematography on it, with the fire, which is cool because Kellen's kind of a pyromaniac, and Brendan knows how to work with a pyromaniac and make his stuff look good. We had this, you can't take that scene and say that doesn't belong on a Netflix or on a network TV. That one scene is so perfect, I think, that you can see the progression of a little indie studio growing to become a larger studio just from 8 minutes of just everything flowing, everything looking great. Just what is as close to perfect as you can possibly get when you're making a film for 10 grand or under.
So that it was at, I don't know, a lot of movies don't like to share their budget, but was it around 10 grand? You're aware of?
As far as I know, that's pretty much every DBS film is they budgeted every single one for 10. because their motto is, instead of doing, one film at $100,000 and maybe never you're making your money back and wasting other people's money, they can safely make a film for $10,000 and be able to return it. Which, when you realize who makes those movies, it's two people. It's Brendan with this like 75-pound rig, doing the cinematography, the directing, producing, and then there's Kellen, who's immediately editing stuff right after, so they know the shots they get, but is also there on set, just constantly pitching ideas to you, and that's it. Like, Dylan does a lot of stuff too, and he's kind of the unsung hero. That's why he's in every DBS film. But it's not an entire crew. Like, right after that, when I did a more mainstream movie, and it was a set of 50 people, and it's probably going to look similar to the last film I did with DBS, just because those two are on a weirdly different level.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, when I first they were explaining everything to me before I had ever worked with them. We're doing an interview, and I was just like, huh. I had never worked on a set like that. I didn't know how. I've seen their work, so I did my research, and prior to that, and I was like, well, if they're producing this consistent quality and just improving, and this is what they say they're doing, I guess it was just a matter of me getting on set and actually seeing it in person. And then when I saw what it was, I was amazed, and then saw the results. I still don't really. I mean, I saw it. I've been there on 2 sets, but I still, in my mind, still like, how? People spend millions to do that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Your first film ever was a DBS film, and it moved up to 17th on the new release chart.
Yeah.
So right out of the gate, that's how he's experiencing this industry. No struggle or strife, just right to the top.
Nice.
But it was just wild to see. Because we had done Forest of Death, and then Haunting of the Murder House came out. So I was like, okay, I did this film with this little company who had that one hit with Girl in Cabin 13, which hit #1 on Tubi. And then I saw this rollout for the Haunting of the Murder House, where Ty stars in that. And you see like, hey, we're in the charts. Hey, we're top 75 or top 50 or top 25. Hey, we're number 17. And you start moving up and you see the movies that are ahead of them, and it's like Top Gun. It's these major films.
Yeah.
And then the lookalike. And it was just like, okay, so this company kind of knows what they're doing a little bit more. And then watching Forest of Death come out, which is, I did this 21 years. And the largest film I think I've ever had seen was maybe 1,000 people. I used to have an old radio show at County College of Morris that reached more people. And this one was 100 reviews in the first 24 hours. And it started placing on Amazon. 24 hours later, it was in the charts. And it's, you'd like to think it's friends and families, but it's not, because there's some people that are very critical right off the bat in positive ways. But you're seeing people watching it, renting it, downloading it, screenshotting it. You're starting to see it all over social media. And it's like, okay, so there's this little studio that's onto something. Yeah. This little studio they're a little Blumhouse. They're moving forward. They kind of know what they're doing. They cast great people, so I can say that.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, this is kind of I've been a horror fan forever, and I've been a fan of independent film forever, but it's like, it really seems like, I don't know if the pandemic helped, but it's definitely helped with streaming as far as people really wanted to check things up because they had nothing else to do. But I really think, especially in the last year and a half, independent horror is just blowing up. You see things like Terrifier and Skinamarink that did really well. Terrifier was $125,000 I think to make, and Skinamarink was 16,000, and they made $1 million back.
There seems to be one a month of just an indie horror film.
Yeah, and it's awesome.
Just comes out of nowhere, hits it big, and you're like, okay, good for you. I hope I'm next.
Yeah, for real.
But you mentioned it. You mentioned Tubi. Tubi wasn't around before.
Nope.
Now you have Shudder. Now you have all these different
Every
streaming
month
services.
There's something new.
Exactly, where it's something's going to be someone to see. And
you're going to find your niche audience.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's
Well,
what
it's
I like about now is that if you're a horror fan and you're an indie horror fan, you know where to go to find indie horror.
Mhm.
And those things didn't exist 20 years ago. They didn't exist 10 years ago. But now, if that's what you're interested in, you can go find it. Like Forest of Death, when it launched, we had like a 9.6 on IMDb for the first few weeks
That's
because
crazy.
everyone that was watching it was either an indie fan or a horror fan. And they're the ones that got us to a mainstream audience where people are like, what the hell is this?
Hmm.
And they're like, what are your favorite movies? Oh, The Rock's in them? Yeah, you're not going to like this.
Well,
Like Avengers? Oh, yeah, you may not like this one. There's no
maybe
superheroes in this.
in the the 2.0 version, they'll get Dwayne to show up in the woods. I don't know. So we have it's MP Savvy asking where it was shot. I know you guys are in Florida. One thing, like when I saw like you guys were under the house and it was like those big beams, I'm like, where the hell are they? I'm assuming that's for flooding.
Yeah, it was like a raised up house. Yeah. Because there was water. We were right on the water.
Yeah,
It was creepy. It was a
Yeah.
very creepy house
it
in
looked
the
it.
outside of Gainesville.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And
right
actually,
next- yeah,
speaking of that,
Gainesville.
like we do have the trailer. I just want to play that real quick. It's a minute.
Oh, cool.
10. Yeah. So if whoever, I mean, we got some people watching. If this is interesting to you, and I think it will be, it's streaming. You can rent it or buy it on Prime Video.
And this is why we tell anybody who's listening right now, definitely check out the live shows, or not even the live shows. If you can't make it on a Tuesday night, come and watch the video, so then you can actually see the trailer that you're listening to now.
Also hearing them. Yeah.
And then see the trailer and then pause the podcast. Unless you're here live, then continue watching. But if you're watching this later, this is the time where you watch the trailer and then you pause it, you go rent or buy the movie, and then you go, oh, that's what they're talking about. And then you start the podcast over and then you watch the whole thing through.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I just assume everyone has that kind of time in life if they don't have kids.
Well,
So-
I work from right here, so I usually have something on this monitor at all times. But I didn't with this. I rented it. I could have bought it. I actually after I was watching it, I was like, I probably should have bought it because like I said, I wanted to watch it.
No,
again.
because if you wait, you can buy the Blu-ray, the DVD just for the cover art alone.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Nice. Or there
I'm
you
going
go.
to buy one autographed by me.
Yeah.
Just to be self-serving.
Nice. Like, see,
Ben, I think you said I was getting your first autograph, right?
No, my mother-in-law is getting your first autograph.
Oh yes.
My mother-in-law's got a little thing for him. She liked the movie. She really liked Ty.
Yes, he recently told me about that, and I was like,
she's in the chat. I don't know. Anyways, here's the trailer for Force of Death. We'll be right back.
There is an evil in these woods. There is something out there. The reason is locals know enough not to come out to these woods at night. I know what it is. It's Shapeshifter. Take your form. And take your voice. It mimics you. But the moment it gets in one of your heads, that's when it strikes like a coiled up snake and just snaps right at you. Maybe I'm just making things up to scare you when you hear things go bump in the night. Or maybe I'm telling y'all the truth.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Great
that one
trailer.
scene I was telling Ben, I'm sure everybody gets a little bit of everything through that scene. I was telling him, I'm like, it reminded me of Quint in Jaws when he was telling the sharks go in the water, the people go in the, and I'm like, that's where I felt. I'm like, I wonder if you got that. And then he told me where he got some of the inspiration from it. So
Yeah, I wish I was smart enough to take it from Quint. I wish I was good, but
Like,
I was saying it was originally just Crazy Ralph type of character,
Yeah.
and then just through developing it and taking a lot from Jake the Snake Roberts, which I heard one of your episodes, you guys just randomly go on wrestling tangents, so you'll appreciate this. Developing that character, I was watching AEW and Jake Roberts came on and something triggered in my head. And I went back and started watching his old promos. And I noticed that he didn't scream, he didn't yell, and he talks about whispering. So you bring people in, you get their attention. And I was like, ooh, I like that. And a lot of the look was Kurt Russell. A lot of the speech pattern was Jake the Snake Roberts. So what originally started as the, throwaway trope character ended up becoming kind of integral. But yeah, that was had I been smarter, I probably would have taken a lot more for Quint. I definitely would have. I played Roger twice now. At no point did I ever think of Quint. But if I play him a third time, I'm definitely going to incorporate that into the character.
Yeah,
because the cadence you had there, I was just like, it sounded like it brought me to that Jaws scene where he's like, the people went in the water, the sharks were in the water, and I'm just like, just like the breath pattern. But then you mentioned Jake the Snake too, and I'm like, okay, I see that because
I didn't
a huge wrestling fan.
But yeah, that was my time. Yeah, back when he was the man.
I watched that. I watched him trap the Ultimate Warrior in a room with snakes many times. I watched that repeatedly to get the canes. And when I drove up there, I stopped at Target, and I bought a Jake the Snake Roberts figure. So on the drive up, I was rehearsing my lines, which I was later going to never use, but I was rehearsing them with the toy Jake the Snake Roberts.
You didn't have to admit that, but you did. And I appreciate it. We actually, years ago, we had Al Snow on the show a long time ago.
Did you really?
Yeah. And what was the other dude?
So
we had another guy
in my lifetime.
Champion.
John Morrison, when he was
Strange Nature.
Strange Nature, that's what it was.
Yeah, this was like a crazy show. We had him. I always forget this dude's name. He's in everything. He was in Groundhog's Day. He was on I don't know, a bunch of stuff. I don't know where. I guess we offended Ben.
I'm back.
Hey,
where am I?
He apologized.
No, my AirPod said it died, and then it said it was at 89%.
Oh, thanks, Al.
I got nothing.
Remember, I was saying
I was nerding out to Al Snow and Jim Morrison while you guys were talking about it.
I mentioned having Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in the woods, and Life is Pain commented Dwayne "The Rock" versus 100 Jasons. That's a lot of Jasons. Who would win?
Oh, that would be The Rock.
Yeah, probably. And Sergio doesn't let us down. Whenever there's a trailer that looks too scary, he says no, thank you. So he said no, thank you, because it looks too scary. It's not. It's the trailer makes it look way scarier. But it's still got some creep factor for sure. You can watch it, Serge. And MP Savvy saying cinematography looks great. I agree.
It's all one person. That's all Brendan Rudnicki.
Wow.
And he's not even formally trained. He's just a movie fanatic who just watches things and learns from doing and learns from watching. And seeing the earlier stuff to Girl in Cabin 30 and then Murder House, which is like, oh, this is a big step up. And then to Forest of Death, it's like, this guy didn't go to school for this?
I'm going to have to
track this guy can just do this?
Yeah, that's what I love. I like to see progression. I want to see someone's early films and see like their big film,
Well, see, that's what's weird about doing films with DBS. It's on a weird meta level where like right now they're casting for their next film, which is a Bigfoot movie. And they're casting through their Discord with their super fans. So the casting, you're part of it. Like if you're part of their community, you're part of the casting process. You're part of the creation process. Like when they announced after Force that there was going to be a Roger movie, that was immediately in their Discord. And it came after a screening of Forest of Death. And there are people liking that character. And then while they're in their production, they do live TikToks from set. They do daily updates. So it's almost as if you're a part of the film while it's being made and while it's coming out. You're a part of this team. You're a part of everything. And it's a really weird thing you have where you have this community of people all coming together from the beginning to the middle to the end to now where they're moving on to the next one. So it's an entire experience with them, which is really wild.
That's pretty cool. I mean, it's good to have like that built-in community, and like I'm assuming the Discord isn't just all people, like local people, which is pretty awesome.
They're all over the world.
Yeah, that's the thing is like there's a lot of times we talk to a lot of independent filmmakers and they have like the same like kind of like stable of actors that they can grab from, you know, which isn't a bad thing because we already like Tony always brings it up like you can tell when someone like people are really friends. They just work differently in some of those situations, except for, you know, when you're around a fire and making up a story in front of people that don't know you're going to do it.
Well, see, that's where you're right, because that scene's improvised, right? And what you saw was one of 4 takes. So some of the things I said really went far. But the only way I'm comfortable doing that, the only way that happens, is if everyone I'm working with is really cool. Like if Ty isn't okay with me insulting him, I'm not going to do it because he can beat me up very easily. Very easily. If Chloe gets offended by something or Stephanie, I'm not going to say it. But even at the first table, Chloe's like, no, say worse things. What else can you say? More perverted. Come on.
Yeah.
So it was like, okay, these are cool people. They've been working together for a couple of days. They're welcoming me in. This is the greatest set I've ever been on. Everyone here is just saying, go for it.
You've already
go for it.
Already stolen an energy drink from them, so might as well just also help them nonstop, right? You should have came back at him when he was telling that story. He's like, yeah, what about the energy drink? Why don't you talk about that? 12 minutes.
And then he took my seltzers.
In the movie, I stole your alcohol.
It's true. Yeah, facts are facts. But no, that I don't know. It's a pretty cool like thing. There's all these like different like crews throughout the country, and I like it, and I like talking to everyone. But I just want to.
Well, that's the beauty of. I think that's why there's so many movies popping up, is because there's different, companies and different crews popping up, and you mentioned it before with the, I think, with the Terrifier 2s coming out. Now there's more eyes on that independent scene.
Yeah.
You mentioned maybe it was a pandemic. I definitely think it was a pandemic, because if it was an indie film, you weren't getting those bigger budget films. So for somewhat entertainment, you had to look at the different places. And thank God for Netflix. That I think that might be the only time.
Yeah.
Might be the only time I thank Netflix, is because they put on the independent films. And then that's where the first Terrifier was. So it's like, oh, where's this? Oh, it's an independent film. I didn't know these existed. Now people are actually going out to search for them, as opposed to, waiting for them to come out, which they never, never would. So
Netflix was smart enough to really stay with that platform. I'm just kidding. They haven't. They've like removed like a ton of independent movies from the platform. It's like, all right, dude, whatever. I get it. I still like Netflix a lot, but I watch Shudder more than
documentaries.
Yeah, documentaries, and there's a lot of like really cool foreign films on there that you don't see everywhere. Which is cool, but so I know it's gone by pretty quick, but we're going to be wrapping up in the next 12 minutes. So I definitely want you guys to talk a bit about what you guys have coming up, and where people can find some of your other projects and stuff. So Tyler, why don't you start with anything you have coming up that you can talk about, and maybe if we want to check out, like I'm saying I mean me, if I want to check out some of your other stuff, where can I find that?
Okay. So at the moment, right now, I don't have anything coming up. Just a lot of training and auditioning and stuff like that. But I do have, as you said, you can check out the Murder House, which was the one I did before that. And then, like I said, I'm really fairly new into the acting. So the only other role I did, I was on Netflix. I don't know if you remember Bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
I was on Bloodline for an episode, and I mean, like I said, that's it for it at the moment.
That's still, that's pretty great. I mean,
I mean,
pretty awesome.
Just from those DBS films. I mean, on the actor side, besides all of the reviews and be on Amazon and yada yada yada, just the experience that I've got, just being on set and the people I got to work with and the connections I got to make. I mean, it was incredible. I mean, I know so many people that would kill for an opportunity like that, and so that's why I really took advantage of that, and I made it worthwhile. And I got everything I could out of it. As far as like I explained before, and
nice.
a guy also built a relationship with Kellen and Brendan, which is really easy. They're like the most. I mean, they get along with just about everybody.
Well, Brendan definitely does.
Yeah,
He's got some moments.
yeah, but they're awesome. I mean, I don't. I'm so curious to see what other sets are going to be like because I just want them all to be like that.
They're not. They're not.
I know.
So what made you just like, since you said you're still new to was there a moment that you're like, okay, I want to do this. I want to either audition or put my name in the hat. Like, was there one moment where you're like, okay, it's now or never, or how did that go?
So I got into acting when I was in college. So I throughout my whole life I was playing sports and I just didn't have time because I was actually going to be playing soccer specifically in college. I did play for a year. After that, in college you just get a lot of downtime. It's not like high school where that's your life right there. So you get a lot of all right. You got to figure out what you're gonna do for your life. That's going through everybody's mind. And the school was like just really was not doing it for me. And I always had this interest in the back of my mind. Just never had the time to entertain it because I was always had so many millions of things going on. And so when I got into college and I had that time, and I also had people saying, "Oh, you should try getting into the industry. You have the look, and it's just a matter of if you enjoy it." So I was like, "Okay." Did my research. I was like, "What's the next steps? Why not try? I'm young. I have so many opportunities. Just, let's go for it." And I had the interest. I did have the interest. So got an agent, and they're like, "All right." So they kind of told me, I gotta get the headshots. And they're like, oh, well, how do I get into films? I don't have any experience and stuff like that. So I had to do a bunch of extra work, which is fine. I just want to learn everything I could and build any connection I could, no matter what. Didn't care the pay, just getting those little bits of credit. And then, I mean, the first set I was ever on was Baywatch, the new Baywatch, and it was a massive set. And I was blown away. I mean, I had high expectations for it just because, and I was not disappointed. I mean, I could definitely see it's an industry or a career choice that you definitely have to enjoy because it's tough and it's brutal.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, it really is. But if you enjoy that and you enjoy the craft of you are always building the connections. I mean, it's just something that I took to heart, and I was like, this is what I want to do. So then that's why, then I started applying, and then this specific role came up, and it was local, and it was like a gift. I could tell you that. It was really, really a gift.
Nice.
And,
Good job. It was good. It was definitely, I wouldn't have been able to tell that you haven't been doing it that long, I just assumed, that this is something you've been doing for a while. So that's good.
Yeah.
Because I look at people like making, putting doorknobs on the wrong side of doors and like that. And so, yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that at all. What about you? I'm sorry.
It's really. I mean, Ben. He's been in it a lot longer than I have. But I mean, it's if you're a likable person, you get along with most people, and you're able to build those connections as far as like-minded people. That's the key. That are and being on set, everybody's all wants to do the exact same thing. So it's just a matter of finding the right energy. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's definitely something that I picked up relatively fast, and I was able to get an opportunity like this, and and just been growing ever since, and training until another opportunity.
Awesome. Well, I wish you luck. I'm sure we'll see you in a bunch of stuff.
Thank you.
Probably more DBS stuff, right? I'm assuming. Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah. That's
so. Yeah, Ben, what about yourself? I know you've been doing it for a while, and you've got some stuff coming up. So,
yeah, I've got a couple things coming up.
Mm-hmm.
I think the next one I have coming out is from The Asylum, The Attack of the Meth Gator. I think it's going to be out later this summer.
For real, I'm not even exaggerating. I was asked to be in a monkey suit, like a gorilla suit, for Attack of the Meth Gorilla.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was just going to be a short. It was just going to be short, and it's not Asylum. I can tell you that. It's just going to be a short. I was asked like recently, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. You know, like that's funny though, because
So
like
that's
they're
with
goofing
Cocaine
on the
Bear,
movie.
everybody's gonna jump on there.
exactly, especially Asylum.
Well,
they jump right on it. Yeah.
Well, just remember, Attack of the Meth Gator was the first one announced after Cocaine Bear, and Attack of the Meth Gator was actually in production before Cocaine Bear.
Maybe I'm pretty sure he said meth. I have to ask him what his narcotic of choice is.
I mean, it's kind of becoming a trend. Just pick one. But the next one from DBS is currently titled The Roger Project, which I play Roger again, this time in the leading role. And it's the same character in a completely different style. That one, it's not funny at all. That's a much more of a thriller style film. But it's the character evolved, I like to say. It's the character expanded upon. You get to see him in a context where he's a little bit more broken and a little bit more hardened. And that one, I'd probably say end of the summer too. There's a chance they're both gonna be at the same time, which would be weird because in Girl in Cabin 13, the other DBS film, there's an actor named Stuart Maxheimer. Great actor. And I was a fan of his before I worked with DBS, just from that film. And then I got to work with him on a TV pilot that's probably never coming out. And then we went into Roger Project. There was a character in there, and Brendan and I are doing this, going through the script. I was like, you know who would be great for this? Stuart Maxheimer, because I just wanted to work with him again. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, I could see that. And a week later, Stuart signed on. And I was thrilled because I like working with him. He's a cool guy, great actor, and I got to beat him up. A week or two after we wrapped the Roger Project was Meth Gator. And I got cast the day before. I got lucky, and like 40 people dropped out, and they were desperate enough to put me in their movie. And I just had this weird feeling based off the talent they were casting was higher end. So I messaged him on Facebook. I'm like, hey, do you happen to be in Attack of the Meth Gator? And he's like, yeah, how did you know? And I was like, because I'm in that tomorrow too. And there we are, 2 weeks or a week removed from being on a DBS set. We're now together in the same scene for the entire opening of Attack of the Meth Gator.
Nice.
And it was one of the most mind-blowing things I've ever seen. So the fact that those two movies may end up coming out around the same time blows my mind. And it also shows that I did both. Both are going to be very similar. One was done for the Asylum budget, and you're going to see every penny of it because they're terrific. But very similar to that is going to be DBS that's probably doing it for a 20th of their budget. And you're going to be able to see them at the same time.
The one thing, and I think that's why the indie stuff is probably cooler, especially since stuff like Terrifier and Skinamarink is they're just doing it on their own, and they're doing the funding themselves, so they're not getting producers involved where they're like, all right, I'll give you money to do this, but you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this. I want you to change this because it offends my wife. It's crazy. Like there's movies that I know have had like a lot of promise, and now just like, oh geez, what the hell happened? And it was producers.
Yeah,
it's called Suicide Squad.
Yeah, I agree. Even lesser known movies, but we'll talk about that after. Yeah, but that being said, though, it is about time to go. So, Tyler, where can people go to follow you and find out what's going on with your acting and your stuff?
My main source would be Instagram. It's at T3Miller. You can also find me on IMDb if you want to keep up with the acting credentials. But those are the two main ones. Yeah.
Ben, what about yourself?
All my social media handles are the same. It's at the _real REEL_BLN. And then for anyone watching, whoever wants to be in a movie, DBS, if you join their Discord, they're casting for their Bigfoot movie right now. I know Tyler is going to audition for it. I'm going to sit this one out because I don't want to give Kellen the satisfaction of telling me no. So for my own ego, I will. But they give back to their community. They make films for their fans, with their fans. So anyone watching, if you want to give it a chance, go find DBS on Discord and go rent Forest of Death.
Yeah.
Then watch the podcast again.
Yep.
And then love us and then buy Forest of Death.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah.
So before you give your little tags there, MP Savvy is saying Tony thinks Hereditary is the most overrated horror movie. Do you guys agree or disagree? I disagree. We're not going to get into it though. Have you guys
seen it?
Oh, really?
Seen it. It looks too scary.
Come on, sir.
I'm scared of horror movies.
Anyways, so Tony, where can people go to find you?
Well, first off, it's a tale of two movies. I like the first half, and then the second half just lost me. So,
you're drunk.
Being that, yes, that's what I do right before. Anyway, you can find me at Tony Has Nine Fingers on YouTube, where I do movie reviews, unboxings, anything movie related you'll find on there. Tony Has Nine Fingers on Twitter, which I hardly ever use. Tony Has Nine Fingers on TikTok, which is pretty much my quickest growing social media. So you'll find me on there mostly. Tony's Movies on Instagram, where I show off the movies behind me. And of course, here on the Wicked Horror Show, most Tuesday nights, whether we have awesome guests like we have here, or it's just a open horror movie discussion. So check us out. And like I said, definitely, if you're listening, definitely got to come to the video side, because not only will you see the trailers, but you can also, when you join us live, you can ask questions. So
yeah,
you could stare at Tyler's jawline and wonder how it's so perfect.
How does a person actually have a jawline like that? Like,
it's so frustrating, right?
It wasn't up until recently I realized I had cheekbones, and now you have a jawline. So for me, just a knuckle on Instagram. Besides doing this show, I also do Black and White Fright, which is just classic horror movie reviews and discussion. And I'm also part of that Strange Show that's also on the Dorkening Podcast Network, which is where this show lives as well. So thanks for watching / listening, you people that are afraid to watch a live podcast. And have a good one, and we'll see you hopefully next week. We take a week off here and there. We have lives. All right, bye.
Go see Forrest.